Yeah,
My chair's
you're gonna
stuck.
fall.
My chair's stuck. That's never happened before in the history of this podcast. My chair has actually gotten stuck. And Petey knocked over the whiteboard.
Petey's been doing a lot of things lately. So,
Anyway, welcome everyone to episode 206 of the F and Marks podcast.
I'm Jay.
And I am the brainless one, and I got to get this thing off around my neck because it makes me look like I'm wearing like a scarf or something.
Yeah.
It's my mask. You know, the same thing that people have been wearing for the last year plus, almost year, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we have quite a bit we have to get into this week in this week's episode of the podcast. We had a very interesting COVID-19 positive test in wrestling this week. Really?
Definitely might put things into possibly disarray for the Royal Rumble, one of their main matches that they set up last week.
Yeah. We also have a change to the Universal Championship match at the Royal Rumble as well.
Very interesting.
We have the Dusty Rhodes Classic Tournament on NXT, and we actually are going to have two of those as they announced this week that they're going to have a second one. Yep. A little bit of beef between T-Bar and Sammy Guevara. Some changes to WrestleMania. And we even had the return of the King of Kings on Raw. So I say we get right into it, Jay.
Yeah.
What do you want to start?
Honestly, for me, the big news was they talk about the date change for WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania is supposed to be taking place in Los Angeles. It's supposed to be in the last weekend of March. But there are reports coming out right now. It appears the date that they're leaning towards is going to be April 11th. Mm-hmm. And it actually seems, in general, that they are going to have it at Raymond James Stadium, which is where they were supposed to have WrestleMania 36 last year.
Right.
Neither of these have been confirmed by WWE, but very interesting news. I mean, we're 3 months away.
And the interesting part was, like you said, it was supposed to be on March 28th, 29th, whatever the hell it was, that Sunday. It was supposed to be in Los Angeles. They were going to push it as WrestleMania Hollywood for the second time like they did back in, I think, WrestleMania
21.
That was it.
22 was Chicago.
Yes. Yep, that's right. And especially because of the fact that the last few months they've been doing stuff from either the Amway Center or the Performance Center, or they've been doing things at the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg. And unfortunately for WWE, St. Petersburg is not going to be available for them starting in probably April because of the Tampa Bay Rays will be coming back, so they're not going to be able to do it there. The Amway Center is actually already booked up for that same weekend, because of the Orlando Magic. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they decide to go. I do think they end up ultimately going to Raymond James.
I think they do, and I think part of the delaying this is I think, Florida, compared to most of the rest of the country in the United States, has far looser restrictions on COVID-19 than all the other places. I think WWE's hope is having these couple extra weeks. More people will be vaccinated, and more, I'm wondering if part of they want to have people attend WrestleMania, and the only way you can attend WrestleMania is if you have a card that says you've been vaccinated. Mm-hmm. That then they could have, in my view, again, a state like Florida, which has far less restrictions, they might be able to have at least most of its stadium full at that point. I mean, even with football games right now, I think the Tennessee Titans had 15,000 people there.
Same thing with the Buffalo Bills. They had about 12 to 13,000 people at their game last weekend.
So I think it's highly possible, and I would say highly probable, that we will actually have fans at this year's WrestleMania.
I agree with that.
So
it's just very interesting because you never would think that anything could actually affect what Vince McMahon does, and here we are, and this pandemic that's actually messing with what Vince McMahon's plans were. It's just crazy to me that that's how it's worked out that way.
It is, but if nothing else I could say about WWE, whether it was 9/11 or other tragedies or things that have happened in our life. The show has never stopped for WWE. You know, it's like, you know, the first few weeks of watching wrestling without fans was like, I'm not going to say bad. It was just different, and I don't think they knew exactly what to do with everything. And kudos to Kevin Gunn for coming up with the concept of the Thunderdome. It's helped, you know, kind of make it feel more like a live event. So they've certainly done the best they can, at least at this moment. I prefer what AEW is doing, where AEW has real fans in the stands, but you know, what WWE's doing still, in my view, works pretty darn well.
I agree.
But speaking of AEW, I saw something this week, and I think the interview actually was like a month or two old, and it's concerning one of your favorite wrestlers, Kenny Omega. So Kenny Omega came out. There was talk that they might be moving AEW tapings to somewhere like in Miami. And one of the talents in particular, Kenny Omega, talked about how wrestling in the cold was tough. I mean, Jacksonville's in Florida, but it's one of the northernmost cities in Florida, so it does get chilly out there. So if they're wrestling at nighttime, yeah, that's not warm. But, you know, a little part of me is like, dude, come on, man. Yeah, you might not be able to perform exactly how you were before, and it might be chilly out there, but warm up before. Run around a little bit. But it's like going, it's cold. I'm getting paid millions of dollars to complain about it being cold. Please.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Hey. Where do the Buffalo Bills play, man?
In Buffalo.
It's cold as hell up there, and they're not wearing much equipment, right?
I mean, there's guys out there who don't even wear sleeves, and it's like 12, you know, it's negative 12 degrees with 15 feet of snow on the ground and all that stuff.
So Kenny Omega, suck it up, dude.
You whiny little bitch.
That's right, Chris Brown.
I don't even have words for that. I'm not even going to touch that. You know,
you love Kenny Omega.
I love me.
He's the goat of your hatred.
No, Kevin Owens is the goat of my hatred. But
all right, you want to get into him?
We will in a bit.
Okay.
Another thing that happened. So Chris Jericho, who is the goat of goats, goated more than goat dome, has been doing these concerts. And, you know, he did one over in the summer, and there was a lot of backlash because there wasn't social distancing and a lot of people there. And then he did another one in September, same type of deal, you know, and like the first concert he had, you know, people were going out there and crying and saying that he should have done that, should have done a better job of social distancing, blah, 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 blah. And then he came out and was defending himself for what he did, and he's like, nothing really happened. So he has another concert happen in September, and come to find out, Chris Jericho popped for COVID in September.
And he said, I forget if he said that he was asymptomatic or like had minimal symptoms, and by the time the next AEW tapings happened, he was clean and clear. So, yeah.
I just thought that was interesting that Chris Jericho was the one that was like defending himself, like, hey, you know, we did this and nothing really happened to me or any of that stuff.
But turned to find out that he got it. Now, because of that, I think for at least 3 months he was immune.
Yeah.
But you know, this thing's nothing to play around with. Just because you know, another big story from this week: Drew McIntyre popped positive for COVID-19, and Drew again kind of saying, "I'm asymptomatic. I feel absolutely nothing different with me." But he's like, I'm going to stay at home and I'm going to quarantine myself, and I'm going to, you know, make sure I'm healthy before I return to the ring. But also, same episode of Monday Night Raw said, I'm accepting Bill Goldberg's challenge for a match at Royal Rumble. So obviously he feels very confident that he will, you know, be negative for coronavirus before Royal Rumble, which is in, 2 weeks.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
So, I mean, should be good.
But the thing is, like, how is this? Because he's right now in the early stages of coronavirus. It's going to be curious to see if the virus actually affects his like immune system. If he's not able to like go out there and compete because he's kind of winded and all that stuff, and makes him weaker and tired and all that stuff.
The only thing I'm going to say for this though, if he's over it and he has to get in the wrestling ring. He's having a match with Goldberg. They're not 25-minute matches. It's going to be 5 minutes. So, and right now it sounds like he's still doing his regular workout regimen. Yeah, he's going to be a few weeks out of the ring, but it's not going to be like a super long thing. But you know, if he continues to be asymptomatic, then I don't see it affecting him that much. But it's certainly like, hey, that's supposed to be a big, high-profile match, and he might like not be able to perform. Your one of your two big champions not on the show. And I think he'll be there. But
in my opinion, the second biggest show of the year after WrestleMania.
I agree. I know that WWE likes to make SummerSlam the second big deal because it's 6 months away from WrestleMania. But
the road to WrestleMania starts at the Royal Rumble.
It does, and you know what? Even a bad WrestleMania are sometimes some of the worst pay-per-views WWE has ever thrown. The spectacle I'd say, since like WrestleMania 19 has always been there. Maybe even, even the ones before that. Yeah, maybe even starting with 15. But it's like Royal Rumble. Even if it's a quote-unquote bad Royal Rumble match, I still enjoy the hell out of the Royal Rumble.
It's my favorite match of the year, every year.
There is almost no way for me to not like the Rumble, and it's like, on top of the fact that it leads to things storyline-wise to WrestleMania, the only thing I really am not looking forward to. The WrestleMania sign's going to start showing up, and people are going to start pointing at it very soon. I'm surprised
because I said I was going to do it a couple of years ago, where I was going to print out a sign that said WrestleMania, but for your sake, I wasn't going to do it. I put it on the podcast, so you just point.
I'll make a screen for it, so you could point at it, and I can have a small tism about it.
And then there'll be the talks of WrestleMania moments. What a WrestleMania moment! Michael Cole just needs to contract coronavirus like 2 or 3 days before WrestleMania, so he doesn't have to be there. So we don't have to hear him going WrestleMania moment. And
my argument about the whole WrestleMania moment thing. Let the fans turn it into a moment. Like after that dude had his eyes bulging out of his head when The Undertaker lost.
That's a moment.
That was a WrestleMania moment, and it didn't have to have Michael Cole saying, "Oh my God, what a WrestleMania moment!" No, you ruin the moment. You take me out of the moment when you say that shit. Now, one thing I will admit to, when Zack Ryder won the Intercontinental title, and he's like, "That's his WrestleMania moment." I'm like, "Yes, Michael Cole, it is."
No,
but usually he ruins it.
His WrestleMania moment, I think, was a year or two before that, when Eve Torres kicked him in the ding dong after he lost his match for Team.
Speaking of ding dong, we had a new segment on SmackDown yesterday. Ding dong, hello, with one of your favorites of the Manning family, Bailey Manning, with her new talk show, and brought on the EST of WWE, Bianca Belair.
I didn't see this segment because as soon as I saw it pop up, I was like, I'm not dealing with Bailey. They're enabling this woman, and I don't want to see it. So I kind of walked away saying, "This is all on you, buddy."
Bailey was doing her Bailey best. She was being Karen, and she asked for the manager. Manager did not subscribe to what she was saying. So,
Chris, as much as that's an indictment right there, and that is just enough that I need to see to tell me about.
Okay, Prince Valiant. Come back.
That's enough I needed to see to know that I did not miss anything.
Yeah.
I have a very interesting brain list, and I think this is justifiable when I do my brain list because nah.
But she was doing her thing, and Bianca Belair was trying to talk about how, hey, I'm the quickest, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the best at everything. But next week, if you want to talk about Chris Brown, something not only was this segment not great, but it's going to lead to a segment next week that I don't think is going to be great either. We're going to have Bianca Belair go through a Bayley-designed obstacle course.
It's going to be a lot of wacky, waving, inflatable Bayley bunnies in there.
That are deflated?
Yeah, like WrestleMania 35.
That's what happened. Ding dong, hello.
Which is funny too, because I feel like they did that just for the fact that they did this whole waiting room thing with Britt Baker on Wednesday, and they've been kind of making that into a thing. And I think that that's just kind of like WWE's way of being petty towards AEW.
In some ways, it's flattering to AEW that the WWE is looking at them and going, "We need to copy them."
Yeah.
Hey, while you're on it, you want to get into that?
So they had the segment of the waiting room, and they were coming out with all the women were coming out because Cody Rhodes was the guest on the waiting room, and there was just a lot of women coming out, and chaos ensued. It led to Brandy Rhodes smacking. Oh, for the life of me, I can't even think of the girl's name that she smacked the shit out of. But it led to a brawl. It led to a brawl where all the women's division came out, and for whatever reason, Britt Baker went out and was finding Thunder Rosa, and she found Thunder Rosa and attacked Thunder Rosa, put her in a move. She actually grabbed water and was wiping out Thunder Rosa's face and everything, which led to Thunder Rosa getting all pissed off.
You couldn't see her.
So now we have it official that it will be Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker down the road. I want to say it's at the next big pay-per-view, or is it going to be like one of their secondary things? I get so like AEW keeps ever since they did the whole Fight for the Fallen, Fighter Fest and all this stuff on back-to-back Wednesdays to equal one show. I've been so thrown for a loop. I don't even know what's a main show anymore or what's not a main show anymore.
Well, I'm not 100% sure because with AEW, one thing I still greatly enjoy about them is their pay-per-views are once a quarter, where they get to actually take some time to build up storylines, so you have a big deal of a match coming up, but they also like to have high-profile matches on Dynamite. And who knows? It could be coming next week. It could be coming in a few weeks. But Dr. Britt Baker did an interview this week, and she says she never, ever wants to be a babyface again. She fits this role very well, as much as she was very awkward at the beginning and the stuff with Shivani was
off-putting.
I didn't like it too much, but I think she's kind of now finally found her groove in it.
Oh, she's killing it now. And it's just like you say, you always say that you gotta wait it out. You can't just gauge what your reaction is going to be just on the initial thing. Because with the whole Bray Wyatt thing, when he was coming out wearing the Mr. Rogers shirt, and he was, oh, look at me, I'm Firefly Funhouse guy. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yowie wowie!
And I'm like, oh my God, they've ruined this poor guy. And then obviously he's become the Fiend, and the Fiend is the greatest thing in WWE ever. So I you just got to wait it out. And I didn't want to do it. I'm always one of those ones that I want quick resolutions and everything, and I want to see where this is going to lead to. And I just want immediate results, and I don't, and then I always just says them out because I don't like this because this is stupid type of thing. So,
but sometimes when you do that, you actually are correct off the top instead of Like I remember with the Lana Lashley storyline, I was like, oh yeah, let's see where they go, and it ended up.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be a stinker. I mean, the whole Eva Marie thing, I was like, oh, this is terrible. Like, I was wrong. I'll admit it right now. I was 100% wrong on what I thought was going to happen with Bray Wyatt. I mean, they've done a wonderful job with him. He's one of the highest selling merchandise people on their website and all that stuff. He's been killing it. I was wrong about that. And believe me, as somebody who is absolutely shit all over WWE booking for
almost
30
every
years
week of the podcast and all those other years.
All those years, and I don't know. I thought the way that they started the Britt Baker heel turn was stupid because I didn't like the fact that she was throwing shade at Shivani the way she was. I'm like, I just didn't like it, and I'm glad that she was actually able to find a way to have it look good and do all these great things. And now we have heel Britt Baker, and she's killing it.
Yeah.
Although her boyfriend's now a face, so when she first got into AEW, she was a face, and her boyfriend was the biggest heel. Now her boyfriend's a face, and she's one of the biggest heels. So,
but good for them for keeping up with this and getting it to work. And I think she's finally comfortable in those shoes. Hey man, speaking of Bray Wyatt and things that were interesting, Monday Night Raw this week, I loved the ending of that.
I did too.
And they built this up the whole time. So originally it was supposed to be Randy Orton going against Drew McIntyre in a non-title match with Drew McIntyre with COVID. Their alternate was Triple H. Triple H finally, the voice of reason, calling out Randy Orton for crapping on all the legends, although he's mentioned the Big Show as one of the legends that he was, Triple H was upset that Randy Orton threw shade at. It's like, but Orton's like, going, oh, come on, man, let's fight. And then Triple H is like, no, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction. And then Orton doing his heel best to goad Triple H into a match. Hey, Stephanie's not here. I heard she has your balls in her purse, which, got Triple H a little fired up. Triple H punches Orton and then decides
We have a match, player.
And it wasn't a match. It was a fight. But as the fight's going on, middle of the match, then all of a sudden lights start turning off, and then all of a sudden most of the lights are off, and then Triple H's sledgehammer's on fire.
I like that.
I love that. And then all of a sudden the lights turn on again, and then Alexa Bliss is in the ring, and she used like a flash bomb on Randy Orton. Much better than when Hulk Hogan did that to the Ultimate Warrior in his WCW match. One of the biggest shit bombs of all time. It will never, ever, though, match Primetime Brian Wade versus the Z-Man.
But F and Mark's Hall of Famer Clash of the
Champions 13. But I loved how they integrated the Bray Wyatt storyline into this. I don't know if they would have done the same thing if it were the McIntyre versus Orton match. They might have, but like the fact that like having Triple H's sledgehammer on fire was so
it was a nice
freaking
touch.
awesome.
I'll agree with that.
I love that. I love the lighting that they had on Alexa, and then hitting Randy Orton back with the fire. He set Bray on fire. Alexis flashed him on fire, and he I don't know if he was blinded, but was like, woo. So I loved how they did that.
I'm curious to see what this leaves with Randy Orton. Do we see Randy Orton in the Royal Rumble, or does he have a match with the Fiend at the Royal Rumble? Only time will tell. They only have like a couple more shows they have, before they actually get to the Royal Rumble. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I know that one of the rumors that's been floating around is that they're thinking about doing like a Firefly Funhouse match between Orton and Bray Wyatt. I'd be curious to see if that's the route they end up going.
Well, it certainly seems like they need to have another like cinematic. They need to have, I think, some sort of cinematic
right
thing at this moment, because they've already done the Inferno match. So usually with feuds like this, you escalate things. What do you escalate from here? Hell in the Cell pay-per-view was a couple months ago, and I know Vince specifically does not want to do Hell in the Cell matches outside of Hell in the Cell pay-per-view, because otherwise I'd say that seems like a good place for that to land, but that I think have to do something else.
I wouldn't be, I mean, especially because like the next pay-per-view in February is Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
So you know that, I mean, that's obviously what it is. It's the Elimination Chamber, so they're not going to do any other kooky type of matches and everything like that.
Yeah.
So obviously they need to do whatever they're going to do. I mean, they could have like a Firefly Funhouse during the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, but I don't see a scenario where they keep Orton out of the Elimination Chamber.
And it also seems like it would, like, again, if you do like a cinematic type thing, that's a lot of gimmicks for a pay-per-view that's already a gimmick. And I like a good Elimination Chamber match. I love them, but they don't always follow through.
As long as it's not an Elimination Chamber match where a guy who just lost the Intercontinental title recently gets put into the thing and watches as one guy eliminates the other 4 dudes in the chamber, and then the big dog comes in there and just delivers a giant poop on the whole WWE thing.
Right. And I know it's happened before, and, you know, maybe it'll happen again in February, but wondering if Mr. Money in the Bank, after an Elimination Chamber match, is going to decide to cash in for real this time.
Or have John Morrison do it again?
Possibly. So, yeah. So, all right. What shall we get into next?
Oh, we're already talking about Raw, so I say we just finish up the Raw talk.
Hey, yeah. So on Raw this week, we did T-Bar had a match.
It's not as funny as Slapjack.
No, it isn't. I was kind of upset. I mean, I saw Slapjack, and I'm like, but T-Bar, who did T-Bar go against? He went against Xavier Woods. And all of Retribution is out there. And then poor Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston's out with an injury at this moment. And Big E, who had, spoiler alert, Big E's getting my good this week. Because of what he did on SmackDown.
I'm sure it wasn't for the sweater he was wearing on SmackDown. Oh, was it? Okay. Fair enough. I looked at I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to lie, spoiler alert, I saw the sweater and thought it was ridiculous and it was stupid. And then I saw what was on the sweater and I said, okay, you're going to pass.
I love this sweater, and I love the fact that he was sitting on a couch doing commentary. I'm like, it's so Big E. I wish he had the thing of popcorn while he was doing all of this stuff. But poor Xavier Woods having to go it alone against T-Bar. And Retribution actually, shockingly, got a victory. So, like, all right, good for them.
Something that led from that, though, T-Bar, after his match, got into a Twitter beef with Sammy Guevara because Sammy Guevara claims that T-Bar stole the finisher from him, and T-Bar came out and said that he learned it in the independent scenes. One day wrestling against whoever it was that he said that he was wrestling against, and Sammy Guevara said that he should just steal this, and this, and all this stuff. And T-Bar basically buried Sammy. Maybe I can pull it up real quick. I don't know. I feel like I'm not giving away the proper information.
Well, you know, and the thing here, it's like they're in different competing wrestling companies. You know, I'm pretty sure that Sting did not ask Bret Hart's approval to use the Scorpion Deathlock. Because I believe Bret was using the sharpshooter before that. You know, it's sometimes like the overprotection of some of this stuff. It's like, hey, if anybody else used the RKO, everybody would immediately recognize it as the RKO, and it's like obviously giving more publicity to Randy Orton than it is to whoever is using the RKO. But I don't know. I understand, like, within the same organization, it's like, yeah, you don't want to have multiple dudes with the same ending move. Although the spear seems to be one that they let almost everybody have. I don't know why nobody's protective of that. And I mean, you got Shawn Michaels at least not like getting crazy that everybody uses the super kick, although that came from gentleman Chris Adams originally. So I think Chris Brown might have called it up for you.
That's why he's a Hall of Famer, by the way.
Oh, somebody tell Teabag the move actually belongs to Matt Demarest, the guy he stole it from. And I'm just trying to get the move to be seen since you know he's never on TV. Also, while you're sitting doing nothing, bless you, catering on Monday, check out the newest vlog. Yeah.
There's one where T-Bar absolutely destroys him.
Yeah?
I'm trying to find it real quick. I think I got it. Oh, that's what it was. So basically how it started was T-Bar started the whole thing. He said some little teenage virgin on AEW stole my finisher like 4 years ago after we did a show together. I'd steal something from his moveset, but it's all just King Ricochet moves. And that's when T-Bar or Sammy Guevara told someone tell T-Bag the actual move. So T-Bar responded with, someone tell Panda Kid I had a singles match on TV last night and I didn't steal the move from some backyarder. I thought of it in a professional wrestling ring with @Kill for Nova. Try being creative sometime instead of, oh, I don't know, making jokes about rape. You know what? Everyone is right. This is a dumb argument and I'm deleting my contributions to it. Which is why I probably didn't see it.
Yeah.
Sammy Guevara looks like he hasn't hit puberty yet.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Anyway.
I mean, it's not like when Hideo Itami stole
the GTS
from CM Punk or the knee that beat Cena from Daniel Bryan or the I'm always hurt gimmick from Triple H.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just remember, do you think Ric Flair was the first person to use the figure 4 leg lock? He probably was, though, because I mean he's been around since dirt was, discovered.
Yes.
So okay, that's a terrible argument.
Right. By the way, did you see that picture going around social media of Macho Man Randy Savage with John Cena?
Yes, I did. I thought it was incredible that it was like, oh, I was like, look at that picture of Cena with the Macho Man.
And that was, I think, the version of John Cena that R-Truth grew up idolizing. So it's great stuff. You know what? I'm going to see if I can pull it up on my phone and we'll show people.
We can always, there we go.
See? Macho Man Randy Savage with John Cena. See him?
We'll post it on the Facebook page after the show. I'm gonna have to kill some time right after the show because I got shit to do.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right.
Oh yeah.
So one thing that kept on happening on Monday Night Raw is we kept on having people pulling double duty. They would wrestle a match, and then all of a sudden they would have another match. One of these, originally it was supposed to be the GOAT Elias versus Jeff Harvey. And then Elias more or less says, you know what, I'm putting Jackson Riker in my place. Jackson Riker has a match, ends up actually getting a victory over Jeff Harvey. And then Jeff Hardy calls out Elias, and we get the match that we were told we were going to get, Elias versus Jeff Hardy. And what happened? Elias lost. Yeah. So, yeah.
Remember, I'm not supposed to talk about how stupid WWE booking is.
Yeah.
Because I just wasted breath at this point.
Right.
But I mean, it makes all the sense in the world.
So, I mean, if they're trying to build up Jackson Riker, if they're trying to, you know, I don't know if they're trying to create any sort of friction or tension between Elias and Jackson Riker, but, you know, at least they have Elias doing something on TV and you know, moderately decent feud.
And I will say this, at least like with Jackson Riker and Blake and Cutler when they were in the Forgotten Bums, the best part about them not being in the Forgotten Bums is that they all look like their hygiene's up to par. Because Jackson Riker looked like he hadn't bathed in like months. And
as Jeff would say, El Jefe would say,
super grease.
Super grease.
Yeah. But I mean, now he looks like his hair is all combed up and done right. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess there's positives out of the Forgotten Bums being forgotten forever.
Right.
And now two of them are clean shaven and working with Baron Corbin, and the other guy is walking with Elias.
He is. Another person who pulled double duty was actually Keith Lee and Sheamus. Keith Lee and Sheamus actually had a match with Miz and Morrison, and it started with like some backstage segment, but more or less that they were trying to build up the story and the idea that like, oh no, can Keith Lee and Sheamus trust each other with all that they've kind of been through in the last few weeks, because they were both trying to get a shot at Drew McIntyre, and end of the match, we end up having Lee and Sheamus winning the match, but it was Sheamus tagging himself in to give the brogue kick to get the pin, and then it seemed like they were all buddy, and then you come back from commercial break and they're beating the hell out of each other. And then I think Teddy Long must have come out and said, I'm going to make a match, playa. We don't have The Undertaker, but you two are going against each other. And we got Keith Lee versus Sheamus. And strangely enough, at the end of the match, Keith Lee winning with the Spirit Bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Sheamus looked like he was going to knock away Keith Lee's hand and like not accept the sportsmanship, but instead of doing that, he hugged the dude.
I loved it.
It's like apparently Sheamus is full on babyface right now, so it'll be interesting. I don't think he's been full on babyface most, if not any, of his WWE run.
He had a pretty solid run where he was a face when and how that actually went about was back when Mark Henry was doing his Hall of Pain, and he was just basically taking out wrestlers when he was on SmackDown, and he's like, I'll fight you. He's like, I'll fight anybody. And then Sheamus' music hit, and he's like, hey fella, you're looking for a fight? I'll give you a fight. And I'm like, yeah, Sheamus, we know you'll fight just about anybody, anytime, anywhere. And he had a couple-year run where he was a face. And then, you know, and in fact, when he beat Daniel Bryan, Sheamus was a face when he won in 18 seconds to win the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania 28. He eventually.
See, I don't know why I completely like.
And then when he
out
came,
of my brain.
And then when he came back with the shitty dreadlocks and his beard, and he had the freaking bullhorn in his thing, and he had the spikes out. I said, and that's when he became a heel. And it was basically once he went from face to heel is when he lost the greatest entrance song of all time. It's a Shameful Thing, Lobster Head. A careless man who could wind up dead.
Yeah.
So
I like his new theme song, but
his old one is still the greatest entrance song of all time. And now that what happened yesterday, I'm telling you right now, it is not out of the realm of possibility that Sheamus gets his old entrance song back. He wants his old entrance song back.
We'll see.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I think finding out that the lyrics of Sheamus' song were not what I thought they were was more of a mind fuck than the fact that I was off by 200 days in the Curtis Axel bit. Wow. Hey, well, I mean, look at the bright side. At least I got myself nominated for a Marquee Award this year.
Brainless moment.
Brainless moment of the year. I mean, I get to start a category and all that stuff. I might just have a category. I'm the only one that's the nominee because I got all these nominations.
Yeah.
I don't have wet hair. Look at this. I barely have hair.
Right. So one thing that happened on Raw that I was very happy to hear someone say, finally, someone on WWE TV said it. Drew Gulak came out and said, why do you, saying to AJ Styles, get to put yourself in the Royal Rumble match, but I can't just come out and openly declare? And Adam Pearce was there, and but in the midst of this, AJ Styles just kind of said, who have you beaten? I can declare myself because I'm better than you. I'm AJ Styles. And then Adam Pearce Playa comes out and says, all right, well, you know what? You can't declare yourself for the match, but I'm going to give you the opportunity. And we were blessed with AJ Styles versus Drew Gulak, but still, it points out. I'm glad. Thank you, Drew Gulak, for pointing out something that I've been talking about for years, because I have been entering the Royal Rumble for the past at least 3 or 4 years, and I keep getting denied access. So I'm glad that finally Drew Gulak spoke about this. But WWE still throwing shade on the whole idea of like certain people can say they're in and certain people can't.
Like I said to you before, and I'll say it again, I still think they should treat the Royal Rumble like how golf treats the Masters, where all the former Royal Rumble winners have the opportunity to participate, including and then other people who are like deserving of, some of the up and coming guys and the main event guys who deserve, matches like that. Because I mean, at the end of the day, how awesome would it be to see Hacksaw Jim Duggan get in the Royal Rumble again? That's all.
Yeah.
Because even people because Nakamura would be automatically in, and Sheamus would automatically be in, and Orton would be in, and Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin and Bret Hart and all these guys, and it's like I think that would be a nice little caveat to it. It's something that something different.
Speaking of Nakamura, he got his old entrance music back.
Now I remember when he switched over, not last year but a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and they added the lyrics to his music and everything. I loved it.
Yeah, and I think it was. I don't know if I could say improvement. It was different, but still was awesome.
It's like, how do you take somebody who had a top 5 entrance song and change it on them? Well, if you make it
still
better.
Make it,
I thought it was better. I thought it was a little bit better. I'm not complaining because like the entrance song that he now has back is the same entrance song that when we were walking out of the Ted Constant Center in Norfolk, Virginia, the fans were, as we were walking out, were all, I wish I had
that's enough for your singing. That's enough. I think we established that last week.
Damn, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we established that on New Year's Eve, but I sounded like a tortured cat getting raped by.
That was only when you were singing. When you're rapping, you're on point.
I am the world's greatest rapper, because Eminem knows that, because he hasn't even gone after me yet.
Or John Cena.
Well, yeah, but I got to come up with a line better than I brush your mouth like Colgate.
Right.
Like a broken needle, kid, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
But hey, if maybe that was one of the things, because I want to say it was last week that we were talking about there was a possibility of a bunch of people whose contracts expire at the end of this year, and Nakamura was on that list of people who were on that list who were talking about not re-signing. Guys like Ricochet were on there, and the Viking Raiders, and Cesaro, and Aleister Black. And I know, yeah, that was actually where I was going to go with that. So I want to say we did touch base on it last week. Obviously being brainless, you forget certain things certain times. But I want to say that was something we did discuss last week, that a bunch of people were going to be having their contracts ended at the end of this year at some point, and a lot of speculation was Ricochet's was going to be expiring next week. Ricochet came out online and said this is fake news, and pointed down to a tweet saying that he was going to be out of WWE next week, and that he'll be back in New Japan, or is going to immediately sign with AEW. And then the Messiah of professional wrestling, the Guru, the man that everybody worships except for the brainless one, Dave Meltzer, came out and stated that when Ricochet got called up to the main roster last year,
he signed a 5-year deal. He is locked up in WWE till 2024.
Yes. He got a very lucrative contract extension
because they didn't want him to go to AEW.
And he he would have been and it was one of those things where as a fan of wrestling, I want him to go. I want him to be wherever he's going to be successful and he's going to be happy and everything like that. Me being the selfish wrestling fan that I am, because I am a huge fan of Ricochet, it's just easier for me to watch him on the WWE than it is, anywhere else. And I'm glad that he's going to be sticking around. And I thought there was going to be a lot of backlash because his girlfriend, who happens to be Casey Cantazzera, who's down in NXT, celebrated her birthday this week, and they got a whole bunch of people, Shotzi Blackheart, and Damian Priest was actually there, and a couple other people from Caden Carter, who's like BFFs with Casey Cantazzera.
And the two of them are actually going to be in the Dusty Classic.
Yes, they are.
Women.
And I thought that there was going to be some backlash because they did celebrate and there was no masks shown. Obviously, when you're taking pictures, you
don't want to.
Even if people claim that you didn't wear your mask and
mini super spreader event.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I thought it was really, I thought that maybe that he did that was basically like a fuck you to WWE, where I'm leaving anyway, so what are you guys going to do? But now that after I saw, when I read this morning that he wasn't going anywhere until 2024, I'm like, oh, he's got some explaining to do. But,
well, I mean, Vince can't bury him any further than he already has.
Yes, he can. He can put him in Retribution. Change his name to
Ricochet.
Yeah.
Just look up the Urban Dictionary names for all of the members of Retribution except for Mustafa Ali. I'm sorry, what? Ali.
I don't think Reckoning is that bad. Hold on, let's see that.
Reckoning might not be quite as bad.
Well, we didn't think that Mace was. We were wrong about that.
Wrong. So, another person pulling double duty this week on Monday Night Raw was the original Bro, Matt Riddle. Riddle had a match against Lashley for the U.S. title after beating the champion in the non-title match last week. So basically, before the bell even rang, Lashley beat the holy hell out of Riddle several times. When the bell finally rang, I'm not going to say Lashley completely dominated, but he mostly dominated this match and got Riddle to tap out. But after the match, Riddle called out MVP. And MVP still, in his suit, gets the tie off, gets the suit jacket off, and they had a match playa. But this one at least had, there wasn't a conclusion to this second match, except for DQ for MVP, because it looked like MVP was about to lose, and Lashley ended up helping out his stablemate in the Hurt Business, and we got a DQ finish. So Matt Riddle pulling double duty, Keith Lee and Sheamus pulling double duty, Jeff Harvey pulling double duty. I don't know if this has to do with the alleged COVID-19 kind of thing going on within WWE at this moment, but
I just want to put it out there that this society is this society is just so sick in the head. There is no word now in the English dictionary that you can look at and there's no wrongdoing. The fact that an eggplant emoji now means penis in text form is just, that's all I need to say. You can't even say the number 69, hey, what's the thermostat say 69 without giggling. And the fact that T-Bar and Mace and all that stuff are what they are, and you and I actually thought that there was a possibility that Reckoning could actually be something not so bad. Boy, was I wrong. Thank you, Urban Dictionary. Reckoning, a settlement of accounts, retribution, which is kind of funny that it's in there, for a submissive's tortuous wrongdoings levied in a punitive way. My sub knew her day of reckoning would soon come after having acted like a terrible little cock-hungry brat. Wow, I cannot believe it. I just read all of that out in this podcast. This is where this thing is going. I just thought it was funny that Retribution was actually in the Reckoning name. Now I'm convinced they're getting these names from and it's an inside joke for them. Vince doesn't know. We do, though.
So Chris Brown's saying if they want to make an addition to Retribution, have somebody upset, have the Jinder become part of the Retribution. It is not the worst idea. It really is not the worst idea.
The act of ejaculating on one's hand and then slapping another person in the
What would the Singh brothers' Retribution names be?
Left testy, right testy, or some stupid shit. Whatever way. I'm not, because I could get stuck in freaking Urban Dictionary. I've ended up down that rabbit hole on more than one occasion that I really don't want to end up back down on. So I'm sweet on that. Thank you.
All right, good. All right, so that was Monday Night.
But I will say thank you once again for the internet staying undefeated and proving me wrong that reckoning could actually be something terrible. Because boy was I wrong. I was like, no, there's nothing in reckoning. I'll bet you any money if we put Mustafa Ali in there, it's gonna be like some kind of stupid thing. I mean, it's not like ejaculating in your hand and slapping somebody with it. I mean, it can't be anything good. I just love life. And just in general, I love life.
I love Lamp.
I love Lamp too. If you are the people who are weak at heart or get offended super easily, this is not the podcast for you.
Yeah.
If you wanted that podcast of somebody who would not offend you in any way, shape, or form, or anybody in any way, shape, or form, I would have stayed home today.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. So Friday Night SmackDown, we've touched on a couple of things that happened here. So Nakamura coming out and to his old theme music, and he got challenged by Jey Uso here. But we also had Cesaro come out during this match and get on commentary talking about, hey, I'm a good friend of Nakamura's, and I think he just said that he wasn't around last week. Mm-hmm. If he was around, he would have helped out Nakamura instead of letting him get beat up by the tribal chief and Jey Uso.
And what gets me too is because it seemed like after last week's show that Nakamura was going to be leaning towards the face side because that's what everybody was making that assumption. And then this week he goes up against Jey Uso, who happens to be a heel, and Cesaro was doing commentary. So we're like, oh, maybe this means that both Nakamura and Cesaro are going to be joining forces as faces. And no, well, then we got a match for Cesaro later on in the show as Cesaro went one-on-one with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, and Daniel Bryan sporting a new look with a new haircut, but it's all started from like this little backstage gimmick shtick, whatever you want to call it, with Chad Gable, Otis Dosovich, and Daniel Bryan.
Is anybody having more fun in this run than Daniel Bryan?
Probably not.
He's just enjoying life, and I think it's great that we got Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, but we also got Claudio Castagnoli or whatever his name was. Castagnoli versus Bryan Danielson. The two of the biggest and best stars from Ring of Honor going at it.
Heck of a match, and Cesaro went over here, and this was one of the things we talked about last week after Nakamura, seemingly turned face. We're like, where does this leave Cesaro? Mm-hmm. And, my hope was that this is their pathway of building up Cesaro so Cesaro could, become a main event player.
Doubt it. He's not. He hasn't been there before. He's not getting there now. I told you my hope was that they were going to move him back to Raw and rebuild the tag team division and put him back with his BFF and make the tag team.
But one thing that I was very interested in, that maybe this will, we've said this, I've said this a couple times, maybe this will be finally the shot in the arm that's needed. They had Paul Heyman on Talking Smack, more or less call out Apollo Crews for being a loser. It was fantastic, and you could see the fire in Apollo Crews' eyes after hearing that. And Apollo Crews this week came out and had a match against Sami Zayn, and this is the match where Big E came out with his Ghostbusters sweater and sat on a couch. But Apollo Crews ended up going over on Sami Zayn as Sami Zayn's camera crew was taping everything, and, making sure that the conspiracy against Sami Zayn continues.
Mhm.
And I love that, like, Zayn's beard is getting more disheveled, his hair is getting more disheveled. It's absolutely fantastic.
I can't wait for WrestleMania 38, especially if Sami Zayn is still under contract, which I think he will be, because there's no way he's leaving, because he will never be a bigger star than he is right now in WWE, and he's killing it. He's doing his best work that I've seen in his entire run with either NXT or WWE.
As a character, most definitely.
Yeah. It's going to be great to see him if he keeps up on this pace, because like when him and the Iron Sheik are standing in the ring together, the Iron Sheik makes his way to the ring at WrestleMania 38, and Sami Zayn looks like Cousin It. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Chris Brown, I believe you're correct in saying that we're going to see Apollo Crews turn heel soon. And it'd be nice to have Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece to hopefully drive him forward. But with the character that they developed with Roman Reigns, I don't think Roman Reigns would, one, accept him into the family, or two, allow Paul Heyman to work with anybody else. Because the tribal chief would say, no, I didn't approve of this.
This is my yard now, bitch.
Yeah, let me mark my territory. I'm going to lift my leg and pee on you.
Ooh.
Just like that dog on the beach. So,
I haven't seen that GIF in a while.
I could send it to you.
I know you could.
Yeah. But no, honestly, I absolutely loved that Big E was doing commentary on a couch with a Ghostbusters sweater. Freaking loved it. Loved it. So, but Apollo Crews goes over, and Sami Zayn went crazy after the match, saying it was a conspiracy. So we shall see how all this works out. And I think Chris Brown's probably right. I think Royal Rumble, we're going to see Big E, Sami Zayn, and Apollo Crews in the Intercontinental title match.
Another thing we got on SmackDown last night was a match it was actually a WrestleMania rematch, as we got Liv Morgan and Natty Neidhart.
Yep.
And Liv Morgan, who's been coming out, obviously, with Ruby Riott of the Riot Squad, but Billie Kay, who has been very adamant about joining the Riot Squad, was also out there and everything, and then the punk rock gear and everything. Big surprise, I think, was Natty Neidhart going over in the match. And the three of them were just kind of in the ring. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I think Billie Kay deserves more than what they've been giving her. At least she's doing something with nothing, which seems to be a theme a lot of times with people in WWE over the years, because you had Sandow do the same thing. Curtis Axel was another one. Rusev, Zack Ryder, you name it, have turned chicken shit into chicken salad. And
somehow.
And Billie Kay, give her credit. She's at least trying to do something. Yeah. And right now, she's a little bit more relevant than Peyton Royce,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, all right.
I'm sorry, I had to bring that up because that was one thing that really stuck out for me.
Yeah.
Because I love the fact that when Liv Morgan does her thing where she's sitting on the ropes and she helps up Ruby Riott, and Billie Kay's kind of jumping up, kind of like the kid that wants to get on the couch and can't reach, so they're asking their older brother to put him up there, or older sibling, and that's what she did. And Billie Kay had a very specific bag that she brought. I was looking on Instagram, and it showed it was a bag that said "Punk Rock Gear," Billie Kay's Punk Rock Gear on the bag, and I'm like, oh Lord. Yeah, I'm digging Billie Kay. I know that I've been.
You have not been her biggest fan.
No, and I'm glad that she's doing something with this, and I'm happy for her. I really am. She like I said, she's trying to turn chicken shit into chicken soup or chicken salad, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, so one thing that I think we pointed to on SmackDown,
was it the WrestleMania sign? You said the point two.
Kind of, sort of. I think at WrestleMania 37, we are going to get Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. King Corbin went against Rey Mysterio in a match, and in the end, Dominic kind of sort of cost Ray the match. And Ray would, obviously didn't come to blows or anything, but definitely kind of was upset with his son. Like, hey, this was my match. You should not have gotten involved in any way. So I'm wondering if what is going to happen is eventually Dominic's going to turn heel and say, I'm tired of living in your shadow. I'm going to go out and do my own thing. I'm wondering if we're going to get Ray and Dominic at WrestleMania. I believe that's where we're heading.
The irony of it all, don't you think that how ironic that would be? Rey Mysterio, who spent his entire run that he had in WWE, his 2 runs, I should say, never turned heel once. He has been the face from the start to where he is now. Rey Mysterio has never been a heel. And now it would be ironic that his son would get the heel turn all these years later.
So
I'm sorry, Eddie Guerrero's son.
Yes.
Which is probably why Dominic is going to do it. Because he's going to get retribution for his real father. Yeah! For his real father.
Yeah.
So
I think that's where we're heading with this. They built up the storyline with the family connections with Ray, with Aaliyah, with Dominic so well. That's why Dominic decided to fight at Summerfest. And I just, occasionally need to drop in Jerry Piven calling SummerSlam Summerfest. But I want to say that Dominic and Ray are going to have a match and maybe steal the show. So, all right. So,
I think I do think, Chris, that if we do get Mysterio versus Dominic, that Rey Mysterio, if I don't even know if it's going to happen this year. I think that it could be like a slow burn.
It could be a long-term.
It could be a long-term thing. I mean, hell, it could be a situation where Dominic turns on Ray. Ray beats him at WrestleMania this year, and then eventually Ray,
once in a lifetime,
Ray will eventually put Dominic over and do the honors for Dominic. I've been saying this since I found out that Dominic was training to be a wrestler. I said Dominic is going to go over on his dad because that's what Ray would want, and say what you will about Rey Mysterio, that is one hell of an honor to be the one that ends the career of Rey Mysterio.
Yeah,
and that's what I think they'll ultimately end up with.
Whether it's this year or next year.
And then I don't even need it as a stipulation. Dominic Mysterio just needs to wear a fucking mask. I am sorry. That kid is ugly as sin. I don't even care. Look, I've been on this planet.
What happened to Aaliyah?
Hey, hold on. All I got to say is, and I love the fact that there's all I got to say is, I have not sugarcoated anything since April of 1983, and I'm not going to start sugarcoating now. Dominic Mysterio is an ugly-ass dude. All right? I'm sorry. He needs to wear a mask. His dad's not the best-looking dude either. So that's why Ray wore a mask. I'm convinced. You could say it's because of, like, history and all this stuff and heritage and all that. No, bullshit. Rey Mysterio is an ugly-looking dude. And so is Dominic.
But Aaliyah's a good-looking girl.
Well, she looks like her mother. What do you want me to tell you?
So, anyway, I'm excited to see where this goes. This Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio storyline, although like the Seth Rollins end of it, it definitely went on for a while, a lot longer than we've been accustomed to with WWE storylines. But it really built up the family connections, and families explode on the biggest stage of it. So.
Just remember how all I got to do is when we talk about that, think about WrestleMania 17 when you had Vince McMahon versus Shane McMahon in the no disqualification match that they had, and that was when Linda was so catatonic that she couldn't even get out of the chair, and like Vince like carried her into the ring, and he was gonna blast the shit out of Shane right in front of her, and yes, exactly. See, even Oppie gets it.
Yeah.
But, like, just remember, like, when Linda stood up from that chair, that place went absolutely batshit crazy. To this day, I still get chills thinking about, like, how great of a moment that was.
And then she kicked him in the grapefruits.
And then she kicked him in the ding-dong. Hello? And
Think, McFly.
think.
Yeah.
But I just that's just to go on like what you were saying about like how families explode and everything on WrestleMania.
Yeah. Like the Mega Powers did. So beyond that, the main thread with SmackDown though was having the Tribal Chief kind of trying to exert his authority on everybody and everything. Whether it was at the beginning of the show, Paul Heyman, writing up the contract for the Adam Pearce match, and having Adam Pearce sign this thing saying he was going to do a no DQ match, and then Reigns like going, no, I didn't. Did I say I wanted no DQ? I didn't say I wanted no DQ. I want a last man standing match, and so he redoes the thing, last man standing. They had the contract signing at the end of SmackDown, and then after Adam Pearce signs the contract, he then limps outside the ring. Oh, gets on the mic. I'm hurt. I cannot perform at the Royal Rumble, so it's up to me as a WWE official to find a suitable replacement. Oh, and here he is. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of cupcakes came flying out onto the stage. And so did your favorite wrestler, Kevin Owens.
He's not my favorite wrestler.
I can't wait until Kevin Owens goes against Kenny Omega.
Bruh.
Yeah. Talk about Tismville. But, Tribal Chief kept on getting one up on Kevin Owens because he would use nefarious tactics.
Mm-hmm.
And last man standing match, you could use any tactic you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering who Kevin Owens is going to have for backup. And
probably Damian Priest. I mean, that's
it could be Damian Priest, but the Tribal Chief will end up overcoming because Jimmy Uso will.
Oh, there's no question that Jimmy Uso. I've been talking about Jimmy Uso coming back for months. He is definitely going to be back at the Royal Rumble.
So,
no question.
Yeah.
And that's what they need because the tag team division needs some more tag teams, if you think about it. And nothing against Jey Uso as a singles competitor. He's killed it. And he was rightfully deserving of Breakout Star for 2020 for the Marquee Awards. He has done a great job with what he was, offered and everything. And I think him and Jimmy are going to just destroy the tag team division once again because they are, in my opinion, still the best tag team of the last 10 years in WWE.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, there's the whole facial expressions part of wrestling, I think is one of those arts that's not looked at more closely. And there are certain people that you see their face and it's just like Stephanie McMahon has like the greatest facial expression, so over the top and so like.
One of the things I always think of when it comes to like facial expressions is I think of like about 10 years ago.
Doink the Clown.
And the show that I constantly talk about was when they did Monday Night Raw from Richmond. And I remember this was back when they were still doing the Tough Enough. And they had just announced the winner for Tough Enough. So Steve Austin and Vince McMahon were standing in the ring. And they had transitioned from Tough Enough to Monday Night Raw. And R-Truth, and truth shall set me free. And then you hear, this like a song that has to do with like fighting. And R-Truth comes out just like a Confederate soldier. And I will never forget it because the one thing I will always remember from that, other than the fact that I laughed my ass off so hard, I fell off the bed. But like seeing, because they had Austin and Vince in the ring, and just the looks on their faces when R-Truth came out and did what he was doing, I will never forget the look on their faces for the rest of my life because it was just that legendary. I might actually still have that picture on my phone, so I'll have to post that on the Facebook page later this evening.
R-Truth, the gift that continually gives to the WWE universe.
The greatest 24/7, 365 European television United States champion of the universe.
Yeah, I love R-Truth. I hope he looks like he's in good enough shape to wrestle for another 10 years, and I hope he does. Even if he isn't a wrestler, if they have him as some sort of personality, let that dude, like if R-Truth only wrestles once a year and does what R-Truth does,
I can't wait for that Hall of Fame induction speech because it's going to be tremendous. And he's
little Jimmy will be there.
If we sit there and we
John
talk about,
Cena should
but
induct him.
if we think about it though, if Coca Beware is in, and Coca Beware did the absolute bare minimum to get into the Hall of Fame, same thing as Drew Carey, R-Truth being R-Truth having more title reigns than anybody else in WWE history, that makes him in a class like nobody else. They have to basically build the building and name it after R-Truth.
The Truth Wing.
Yes. But
yeah.
Anyway, I agree. The look on Roman Reigns' face when Owens came out was actually pretty good. It'd be the same look on my face if Kevin Owens came out too. So
yeah.
But that's SmackDown, right?
That's SmackDown. All right, on to NXT. NXT was kicking off the Dusty Rhodes Classic this week, and we had a couple of matches. We had Grizzled Young Veterans going against Everrise. Grizzled
Young Veterans are my pick to win the whole fucking thing.
It is not a bad pick. They and Everrise put on a heck of a bout here, and
Grizzled Young Vets look really good in that match too. I like those guys.
Yeah.
Zach Gibson is one of my other spirit animals. And my favorite part about it was when he came out to the ring and he grabbed the microphone and cut that promo. I was like, oh man. I'm like, this is just great. I'm like, I fucking love this dude. I'm like, he was up here. He got all the way up here for me. I'm like, yeah,
this is almost as tall as Walter.
Yeah, it is. So. But like I really dug that. They had a hell of a match, and I'm still picking the Grizzled Young Vets to win it. A side note, what I thought was very interesting that there's 16 teams in the Dusty Rhodes Classic tournament when they used to have a hard time coming up with 8, and now they have 16. But you got people like Adam Cole, baby, teaming up with Roderick Strong as one team. You got, like they said, Everrise, the Grizzled Young Vets. You have the Imperium is in there, and you got Breezango in there, and all these other tag teams, and
the mystery tag team MSK, which showed up on
at the end. It was in the main event, right?
It was not the main event, but
the co-main event.
Yes,
I just want to say co-main event.
Right. I'm just going to throw this out there, and I'm making sure you're not drinking anything right now. Do you think your coworker is going to hand out the trophy at the end? What tournament is it?
The Dusty Rhodes. I got it. Yeah. Okay. No, she's not my coworker anymore. She actually. She went back to wherever the hell she came from. They said where she went from. I was like, no, she's off to Carolina. She's off to do the Starcade, baby.
No. She went to Florida to get the trophy out.
If she came out and handed out the trophy, that would be it. At that point, I was like, God, just take me now. It's not going to get any better.
This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. All right, so we had Jake Atlas and Isaiah Swerve Scott as a team, but they were going against a mystery team in it. MSK,
I'm sorry, which is known as the Rascals.
Yeah.
Once I started realizing that's who it was going to be, because that was part of me that was like, oh, I hope it's Marty Scurll. But then it turned out to be the Rascals, which I'm not upset about.
No, the Rascals,
they're pretty damn good.
Dude, their tag team moveset is very impressive. I love the double team moves. Mm-hmm. They're incredible.
They're going to be fun to watch in NXT. Trust me. That NXT has one of the best tag team divisions in all of professional wrestling. I can't wait to see them compete against guys like the Undisputed Era and guys like Breezango, guys who could wrestle and really put up really great matches. Even if they fought against Team 1-2 of Biff Busick and Danny Burch, I think they would have a great match. And I'm excited to see how the Rascals perform in NXT. I think they're going to be an incredible asset for them.
And speaking of Undisputed Era and Breezango, they were in a match this week. Again, Dusty Rhodes Classic. So I guess rewinding a little bit, beginning of the show, we had Finn Balor come out, cut a promo, more or less talking about how Kyle O'Reilly's going to be eating his food through a straw because of their match last week, and talking about how he's ready for whoever comes up next. out comes Pete Dunne, and Pete Dunne more or less saying, "Yeah, I'm going to take you next," and they go and they start beating on Finn Balor, only to have Undisputed Era come out and help out Finn Balor, which it's like, hey, wait a second, what? Your dude got beat by these guys last week, but apparently Undisputed Era, their bigger beef
is with
the Pat McAfee,
the brand,
faction, which is McAfee-less at this moment. So fast forward to this main event. During this match, you ended up having Finn Balor come out to help Kyle O'Reilly, who is about to get his jaw broken in half by the brand, and it was just, I liked how they wove the storyline of Finn Balor, the Pat McAfee storyline with the Undisputed Era into the Dusty Rhodes Classic. They took like 3 or 4 different things and interwove them into one thing that actually freaking made sense.
Yep. Well, it's because they know what they're doing at NXT. Side note, it's looking like we're going to be getting Pete Dunne versus Finn Balor for the NXT Championship. I only have one thing to say to that. Shut up and take my money. This is what I want. I want that match. I want Pete Dunne versus Finn Balor for the NXT title, and I don't even care who wins. I really don't. Because you know who's going to ultimately win? Us, the fans. Because that is going to be a great match. And because Pete Dunne's God. So.
And I'm going to guess that will be at the takeover the possibly is happening the weekend of the Rumble. I don't know if we've actually gotten any sort of confirmation about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on that.
But I would imagine they're going to have another takeover around the Rumble and do their own thing. But I loved how, again, they wove all those different storylines into one thing where you understand where each person or each faction is coming from as far as what they want. And it was great, but in the end, Breezango and Undisputed Era had a heck of a match, and I thought when all this was going on, I'm like, oh, this is going to be the way that they're going to have Breezango get one over on the Undisputed Era, and to my shock, thankfully, nothing against Breezango, but Undisputed Era won, and one of the things with this, like Undisputed Era, one thing I appreciate about them is like they will ship the tag team unit, and because they're trying to sell Kyle O'Reilly's injuries, legit injuries from his match last week, and I think Fish might be out with something. I don't know what it is.
Fish is like the new Hideo Itami in NXT. It seems like he's always hurt.
He's older.
Okay, he's in his 40s for sure.
So his body ain't what it used to be. But I love the fact that we got Roderick Strong with Adam Cole, baby, as the Undisputed Era tag team in this tournament, and they went over and really good match, and I love how again they interwove everything in here and had a really cool ending to the match.
I agree.
So love it. If it weren't for Big E, that would probably be my good for this week.
I got something good for my good for this week. So
yeah. All right. So we had Johnny Gargano going against Dexter Lumis.
I fucking love Lumis.
He's so creeper. So creeper.
When he sent the pictures to Johnny Gargano, because he gave them to Austin Theory and he gave to Johnny Gargano, and Johnny's like, "Why would you take this from him?" He's like, "Oh, that's the one for you too." And I just love this whole Austin Theory being part of the way with Johnny Gargano. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
and I'm excited to see what happens with Lumis. I think this is going to ultimately lead to Lumis fighting for the North American Championship against Johnny Gargano. So,
yeah, good stuff. And at the end of this, Kushida came out because next week we're going to get Austin Theory and Gargano versus Kushida and why is my brain
Leon Ruff.
Leon Ruff.
Yep.
in the Dusty Classic.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that match.
So much.
So then we had Wade Barrett interviewing Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa. And next week they're having a match in the Fight Pit, which I don't know what the Fight Pit is. It sounds somewhat similar to maybe a Lion's Den match, maybe.
Probably.
But it was a cool little sit down where like Thatcher more or less is saying like yeah, you beat me in a wrestling match, but now you're coming into my world, and you haven't beaten me there, and you're not gonna beat me there.
Right.
And you know me, I love matches of this nature. Both guys are fantastic in the ring, and I love, even though this isn't the main event storyline, I love what they've done with it.
Oh, they've been killing it. The two of them have been absolutely killing it.
So I'm looking forward to that match.
Same. Me too. Because I know they're gonna beat the fucking shit out of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Zia Lee came out once again this week. I love her new entrance. I love the new persona.
Mm-hmm.
That dude just sitting there on the throne with like the makeup on and having like the faux flames kind of going up beside him. Zia Lee coming out and more or less having a squash match. She just obliterated, I forget who she was going against, obliterated her, and then more or less, her master keeps, nope, go back. And she just kept beating the hell out of her. I enjoyed that, like, Zia Lee is being given this opportunity and has something unique and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And can't wait to see, again, how this ends up. I don't know. I'm trying to think of, like, who would be someone good down the line that, she could face to bring her up to the next level, because there's only so far you can get with squashing people.
Ember Moon would be a good pick. Shotzi Blackheart would be another good one.
Speaking of which, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart became a team. Playa.
Yep.
This week on NXT, Shotzi was like, yeah, I'd love to be in the Dusty Classic, but I need a ride or die partner. And then Ember Moon's like, hey, that's me. And so Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon.
Such good shit.
Yeah. Well, then, they're both two women with an awful lot of potential. Obviously, Ember Moon, former NXT Women's Champion, and I think this will help Shotzi Blackheart a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
So that was NXT. All right. So this week on AEW, we had Eddie Kingston versus Pac, and
solid match between the two of them.
Yeah, and they kind of have like contrasting styles, and but in the end, Pac ends up winning, hitting the. Is it still called the Red Arrow, or did they change the name? Maybe it's EL Fudge, right?
It's Fudge Star Cookie.
Oh, okay. See,
hollowed out tree.
Thank you for getting that.
Yes.
Yeah. So Pac goes over in this match, and I love what they did with Eddie Kingston kind of last year with Moxley. He's certainly kind of come down several pegs since then, but he's made the most of his time in AEW. I mean, considering that a couple of years ago he was ready to quit the wrestling industry. Good for him, and I hope he gets like another shot to kind of elevate.
Right, me too. I like Eddie Kingston, so.
But obviously, the person who has the higher ceiling is Pac.
Yeah. So,
and Pac just came back, so they need to, keep him strong. But, like you said, good, solid match.
Mm-hmm. That's all it matters at the end of the day. You got to get a good, solid match, and you're going to get it out of the two of them. They're both constant professionals, and they're two of the best in the ring and everything. But even though, like you said, with the clashing styles, the storyline that this has been leading up to is just really good. So I'm excited to see where it goes going forward.
All right, so then we had Chuck Taylor with one of his best friends, not his absolute best friend, but one of them, Orange Cassidy, and he went against Miro, and Miro ended up. Again, this was almost more of a squash match than anything. Chuck Taylor got his butt kicked in by Miro, tapped out to the what used to be called the Accolade. Again, when they go to AEW, it's like going, what do they call it now? I don't remember. But so
What was the cat doing?
I don't know, something.
Yeah.
So one thing that's interesting that's going on, this might be at least at this point. I'm kind of like, I hope they go somewhere soon with this. But they have Matt Hardy with the Private Party. At the beginning, with this, it seemed like a mentor relationship, trying to get Private Party up to the next level as a tag team. And then, like last week, they officially had Private Party kind of signing a contract with Matt Hardy to be their management. And then all of a sudden, they're already doing like dissension within the ranks. Like 1 week later, way too fast. It's like they've developed no relationship with the new character that Matt Hardy is now portraying as being their manager. And like, more or less in this segment, it's like they're like, Matt Hardy's like, no, you shouldn't be talking now. You shouldn't say this. You shouldn't do this. But it's like, how do you do that a week after signing a contract? How do you sign a contract and then all of a sudden are complaining about the deal that you signed? It's just stupid.
It is.
I hope that they.
It could be just a way of them to throw a little shade at WWE without like saying that they're throwing shade at WWE.
It definitely could. They definitely could.
Because
Matt Hardy did it last week.
Yeah, think about it like when they did the whole AJ Styles versus Jericho thing. They made out the Y2 AJ T-shirts and everything like that, and then Jericho turned on Styles like a week later, and I'm like, well, that was stupid.
But they did that on purpose. Jericho wanted to make the T-shirts so people would believe that they were going to be a long-term team. So that was the main reason for those shirts.
I should have cropped one when I got one and I had a chance.
Yeah. All right. Then we had the Inner Circle come out and kind of give their like New Year's resolutions.
Yep.
And one of the resolutions. People who watch our podcast, especially in the last few months, might have more appreciation for what Jake Hager said. He said championships and then added another word. Yeah! He said championships, yeah! And he said it a few times within the segment. Every time that this happened, I was like, so Jake Hager's saying that he wants to get championships this year. But the overarching story within this segment was like, there are 3 teams within the Inner Circle, and all 3 teams want to be the champions. But Jericho, his New Year's resolution was he and MJF were going to be the AEW Tag Team Champions. But then, obviously, Santana and Ortiz were like, hey, we're the team of, which ended up getting like Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager, like, no, we want to be the team. So we are going to get a triple threat tag team match with the Inner Circle going against each other, and whoever wins is going to be the one that
goes to the tag team championships.
Yes. So
my favorite part about that is that Wardlow never gave his resolution. Somebody tweeted at Jericho and they're like, hey, we didn't hear what Wardlow's is, and Jericho goes, he's still thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's good shit. Such good shit, pal.
So, Jericho, in the last, basically his time at AEW, he's so good at like being funny and being a dick heel at the same time, and embracing moments in wrestling, like embracing the fact that they sing his song every time he goes out there. Quite literally embracing, Snoop Dogg last week, and then 2 seconds later, I still hate his guts. Like, that dude is having probably the most fun of his career at this moment.
Yep.
The only second to when he was best friends with Captain Cupcake. The painting during the Festival of Friendship is one of the greatest things ever. But will this continued kind of civil war within the inner circle make it stronger, or is it going to cause it to explode?
It's going to cause dissension amongst the ranks, and I think that people have been kind of thinking, like, wondering when the final blow off of when this all thing was going to fall apart with the inner circle
All out.
So I think that's what it's going to ultimately lead to, because I really do think that it's going to be MJF and Jericho who end up winning that, causing all the dissension amongst all the people, and then MJF will turn on Chris Jericho in their tag team title match against the Young Bucks. So,
yeah. And speaking of the Young Bucks, we had your boy Kenny Omega, and he came out with the Good Brothers this week, and Don Callis specifically saying that Kenny Omega was going to be wrestling with his best friends, the Good Brothers, and you had the Young Bucks backstage kind of like, hey, we thought we were your best friends. And Callis more or less saying like, hey, this is business and we want the best of the best. And these guys are the best. And we ended up getting a six-man tag match play with Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers going against the I forget their name, the Varsity Blondes.
Varsity Blonde, yep.
And Danny Limelight. And obviously, Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers dominated this match and won. So it was, they should have won. They should have dominated. And down the line, I don't know if this means that the Young Bucks are going to team with like Hangman Page, let's say, or something else. But I guess we'll see as far as all that goes. But speaking of Hangman Page, he might become part of the Dark Order.
Yep.
That was it.
They asked Hangman Page if he would like to be the new leader of the Dark Order, because unfortunately, they have an opening again. And he said, they asked him to give his answer next week. So we're going to see what happens with Hangman Page. I think that would be a great, great thing for Page to join the Dark Order, because it would be something different. Because everybody expects him to be part of the elite and all that stuff. I think that he's better suited to take over his own,
have his own thing,
stable, and I think he would be great for what they need.
Monseth, good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in again. Yeah. All right. So Roxana saying, I wish we didn't get another KO versus Big Dog title match in WWE. Both guys are talented, and the match, I'm sure, is going to be a good match. But, they've been doing it for a few months. But just in my view, I think it's better than having Adam Pearce on one of your main shows, main pay-per-views, main eventing.
I got my 2 cents I want to put in on that, but I'm waiting just a smidge.
Wait. All right. So we had Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt going against FTR. FTR goes over here. As much as Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt are super, super talented in the ring. FTR should have won and did win this match. FTR have been great since they've been in AEW. I think Tully Blanchard adds a solid extra element to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that these guys can't talk for themselves, but it just adds another thing to them.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
It does more to help than to hurt to have Tully Blanchard with them.
Absolutely. And Lucha Express, I don't know why, maybe they just wanted to give the Luchasaurus a week off, or I should say Jurassic Express.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they just want Marco Stunt to have more ring time, or they're trying to give somebody else a title shot soon. Because, I mean, when you beat Marco Stunt, you're in line for a title shot.
Basically.
The West! All right, so then we had Ty Conti going against Serena Deeb for the NWA Women's Championship.
Solid match. And Serena Deeb did come out and say that her joining AEW was the best thing that ever happened to her. She's got her career has been revitalized and all that stuff, so I'm happy for her. Her winning the NWA World Title, Women's World Title, was kind of a surprise, but she's doing a great job on it. She did go over on Tay Conti. I'm not that surprised that she went over on Tay Conti. But anyway, either way, it was an entertaining match, and I enjoyed watching the two of them go at it.
Absolutely. And Serena Deeb, I was going to say, I guess better than when she joined the Straight Edge Society.
Yes.
So, all right. So that was that. And then our main event for the evening was Darby Allin going against Brian Cage for the TNT title. And you knew that the
coffin drop that he nailed Brian Cage with. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was,
yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah. Well, and in general with this match, you knew that Team Taz was going to come out and they were going to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it still gets me super psyched when the lights go out and then Sting comes out and Sting evened the odds and helped out Darby Allin to beat Brian Cage and still be TNT champion.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point we're going to get Team Taz versus Darby Allin, Sting, and I don't know if it's going to be more people along with that, but it's definitely going to be a thing at some point, and it'll be at the next pay-per-view because they want people to pay to see Sting wrestle. And he is a reason to pay to see wrestling.
He's still an attraction at the end of the day.
So that was AEW for this week. And yeah.
Okay. So I think it's time for the good, the bad, and the brainless.
Yeah.
So, Cousin Jay, I know you said you've been teasing it and talking about it.
There's no tease. Big E sitting there with his Ghostbusters sweater, doing commentary on a couch was my favorite thing this week. As much as I loved how they wove all the storylines together for NXT this week, for the Dusty Classic, for the Undisputed Era, for the brand, and with Finn Balor, it was beautiful. It was a thing of beauty. But Big E making me chuckle with Big E being Big E. The only thing that could have made this better is if he had a giant thing of popcorn where he was eating it so fast it was falling out of his mouth.
Now, I really wanted to give Hangman Page and the Dark Order my good for this week, but I'm going to let it play out for another week to see how it goes. So my good for this week, I'm giving it to the Rascals, now known as MSK, making their debut for NXT. I think they're going to be a great addition to the tag team division, and I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. A lot of possibilities against other tag teams. So give me all the tag teams, because you know me, I'm a huge fan of tag team wrestling. So I want all the tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
What's your bad for this week?
And it's just a thing that kind of hits me is my bad for this week is Drew Gulak finally calling WWE out for, like, why does he get to randomly announce that he's in the Royal Rumble match? Why can't I just randomly announce it? Mm-hmm. And then Adam Pearce, like, more or less saying it's okay for AJ Styles to do it, but you can earn an opportunity into the match by beating AJ Styles. It's like, come on, man. He actually finally pointed out the thing that I've been harping on for years, and then they have him go out and lose. Sad. So that's my bad for this week.
Okay. My bad for this week, I am going to go with the fact that we have this feud going on, this semi-squash feud that was quick and over with between T-Bar and Sammy Guevara. Not that it's bad, because it was funny as shit just to see what T-Bar said, but it's just like it's Sammy Guevara who really should not be sticking his nose in anybody's business, because he had the thing about making the jokes about rape a few years ago, which led to him getting suspended and everything. So the fact that he's kind of going out there and going after people is just ridiculous. T-Bar, hey, for Donovan Dijakovic, who I'm praying can overcome this whole retribution thing.
Yeah,
I gotta say that he's gotta do what he's got to do to make it better, and picking fights with verbal Twitter beef with Sammy Guevara is not a good thing.
Right.
But nevertheless, here we
are. All right. So my brainless for this week.
I'm curious to see if we're on the same page for this, because we typically are.
Ding dong.
Oh no.
Hello. As much as Bayley was doing her best to be a Karen this week, and like, it's not only how bad this was, it's like what it's leading to next week, which is a Bayley designed obstacle course for the EST for Bianca Belair. So, like, come on, man, come on. Yes.
My bad for this week is going to go to, once again, I know I said I was going to stop doing it, but here we are. Here we are in 2021, and I'm still doing it. WWE booking. And one thing in particular about WWE booking. So last week on SmackDown, they had a gauntlet match to determine who was going to be the number one contender for the Universal Champion. It was, 4 or 5 guys that really deserved a shot at it. Zayn, Nakamura, Daniel Bryan, Baron Corbin, and who the hell am I forgetting? There's somebody I forget. Oh, Rey Mysterio. So they all had their match, and Nakamura went over against all those guys and beat Daniel Bryan at the end of it to get the opportunity just to have Adam Pearce come out, eat one of the best, like he freaking sold one of the best super kick sells of all time to what he did, and went over on Nakamura. So that this week, he signs the contract for a last man match against Roman Reigns just to have Owens, who wasn't even in the gauntlet match, become the number one contender. That's where I have a problem. What was the point of the gauntlet match from last week if all you're going to do is just take the guy who ultimately won it, take him out of the match, and put somebody who wasn't even in the gauntlet match, let alone the finalist, to be in that match? Why did Nakamura get that opportunity? He should have done Nakamura versus Roman Reigns, but he didn't. Instead, they give us that fat fucking pussy, cupcake-eating Kevin Owens. So that's why it's my finals, because it made no sense. You basically had a match last week to determine the number one contender in a gauntlet match, and then that match is just now completely wiped out a week later. How does that make any sense? Like, seriously, how does that make sense? Nakamura should have had this match and not Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
I've been stewing on this for over 12 hours. I couldn't even sleep last night. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything like that. I don't get it. But anyway, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a continuous fan or somebody who's checking us out for the first time, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the FN Marks. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That's always been our mantra.
I love that you're doing that with your arms crossed, with your like pissed off look, because you just it was a brainless that involved the cupcake man.
And it's partially that, and it's a little chilly, so that's why my arms are crossed.
Yeah.
But the pissed off look is for Kevin Owens.
Yeah. So on top of that, so if you're watching us on the All Elite Marks page on Facebook, make sure you like and subscribe to that, but set up notifications so that when there's a live video that you are notified that we're live. So that way, in general, we try to do the show around noon on Saturday, East Coast time in the United States. So we try to at least maintain something close to that. But if nothing else, you'll have the notifications to tell you exactly when we start the show. So, and that's about it.
Yeah, but Chris, even if that's the case, then Kevin Owens hasn't improved it either, because Kevin Owens has been getting his ass kicked on a week-to-week basis.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Kevin Owens now twice has gone against Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns needed to cheat to win.
But the thing is that even if that's the case, Nakamura deserves it because he won the gauntlet match. I'm not getting fired up today. I'm not.
You already did. You already did. Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's everything, right?
Wait. I think there's one more thing.
I think you're right. Is that because today? Shit, hold on. What's the date? I know. January 16th of 2021. An incredible 2,183 days. Epic Marks Hall of Fame. It's still alive in 2015.
Did you just pull a muscle or did you punch the wall? I punched the wall. It was bound to happen. You keep saying you're afraid you're going to get punched. I'm so paranoid not to hit you. I'm like, God. The first one was funny. The second one was because you were trying to. Anyway.
So for episode 206 of the Epic Marks So for episode 206 of the Epic Marks podcast,
I'm Jay.
and I am a man who just punched the wall twice. Make sure you
AKA the brainless one.
Always and forever. Established in 1983.
Yeah.
Make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everybody. Catch you all later.
Yeah?
Roxana, I don't know. I don't know what's up with a pay-per-view that WWE putting on the 26th. I'm going to guess it's going to be TakeOver.
Oh, we'll have to look into that a little bit more.
I think it's probably TakeOver.
That's my guess, too.
So, yeah. So, all right. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you all next week. Yeah.
Lord willing, and the river don't rise. I now have 52